So you guys only ever normally get to see me, but today I know some of you are probably sick of the sight of me, and to give you a change of scenery, and also just so you know that it's not me, and I do have real people and a real team behind all these videos. I'm introducing today to Georgie. This is Georgie, who's been a friend of mine for a couple of years, but she actually bravely joined the team as my
very bravely
as my potential suffering personal assistant. And we're actually not planned this, not scripted this in any way. But Georgie's been what, 3 weeks, 4 weeks?
Longer, 6 now.
Oh really? So
yeah.
Well, Georgie's been around about 6 weeks, which is actually the longest assistant I've ever had. I mean, in all of my career, I think I've probably had four assistants in in
I love how you
literally
didn't tell me that
years.
before.
No, but not four as in they've lasted a long time. I've always found it really difficult to delegate personal things, and I think and the assistants I've had, they've lasted. I mean, literally, I think one lasted 6 weeks, one lasted a day.
I remember her, yeah.
The last person before Georgie lasted a day, and to be honest, I think I take full blame for that, because not that she'd lasted a day, but I think I full blame with all of them, because they don't. I guess I don't know how to behave with them. That's
one way to put it.
in a completely professional manner, but what I mean is,
we'll elaborate on that.
and also I've always felt that I've needed to be in close proximity to them as well. This is
just getting worse.
This is not sounding any better, but when Georgie says to me a couple of months ago, could she come and work with me, I'd said yes, because I knew I needed help, and I knew that obviously we've worked together in various capacities in the past, so I knew you'd be kind of suitable, but it did put me off the distance.
Yeah. To explain, it's because I live in London, and Matt sort of travels between Leeds, London and Spain sometimes.
So again, I went into this thinking, well, is it going to be long term? I don't know. Maybe it'll serve a purpose for us both for a month or two. But you knew that. But I guess a month or two in, and I haven't noticed any impact at all by the distance. So anyway, Georgie's come because, as you can see from the setup, we're just about to film a couple of podcasts today. We're just waiting for a very late celebrity guest. We won't grass her up in this, but she's late. And I says to Georgie, why don't you jump on camera and talk about being a personal assistant, and I guess top tips for business owners and entrepreneurs to be able to take advantage of an assistant properly. Because again, I think, aside from my failings of not having been able to use them properly in the past, I think that everyone in business, no matter how established your business is or how much you're earning at any particular time, should give very, very serious consideration to taking an assistant on as early as possible in the game. I think it should be something that's not considered a luxury. And one thing I talk about regularly is how if it's cheaper for someone to do a job than it is for you to do it yourself, or if they can do it better than you can do it yourself, then it's not a matter of you can't afford to hire that person. It's that you can't afford not to hire that person. And so I thought I'd throw the floor over to you to give me I guess a bit of insight, because
we can do a bit of feedback.
Yeah. And also Georgie's worked in different environments, from let's say high pressure London VC firms to probably not so high pressure inappropriately relaxed environments with me. Fire away.
So first thing, I think what Matt said is completely correct. There's no right time to hire an assistant. Like, everyone always tries to do everything, and I've come into a lot of workplaces where the person that I've been working for has either had an assistant that didn't work out, and they sort of put off hiring the next one, because that process of getting somebody up to speed can be quite painful.
What are usual reasons they haven't worked out? Or not usual, typical
honestly,
reasons?
Hiring an assistant is, in a way, like dating. It has to be a personality fit. And I think a lot of people try to make a chemistry that doesn't work for longer than they should. And for me, where it's been really successful in the past and I've worked really well with somebody is where I've just said to them, look, this is what I'm capable of. You know, this stuff I can do with my eyes closed, and just if you can take that first 2 weeks to really invest that time, answer all of my questions, because I'm going to be really annoying, we will get up to speed and up the curve so much faster. And I think that's the first thing that I would say is invest that time, because in that first 2 weeks, yes, you're going to be really annoyed. You're going to be getting lots of text messages and calls and emails and, oh, can I just check this and can I just check this? But you know what? If you invest the time that first 2 weeks, and you did that, and yes, I made you, but you did that, and I think that's what's kind of made the dynamic between us work really well.
Yeah, I think as well for me that's so important that, and again I talk about it in other contexts, in some of my other videos, that it's very hard to do, but you've got to be ready to take that one step backwards, to take 2 steps forward. I know it's something I've always been guilty of not doing, with my historical assistants. I've either dumped stuff on them that they've not been able to cope with, and then because I've been so busy elsewhere,
they can't ask questions.
And then just never been able to invest the time to get them started, which is probably also another reason why you should look at taking that assistant on as soon as possible. Yeah. I mean, I actually think for an entrepreneur that when you've started as a one-man band and you're about to grow your business and look at recruiting, I actually think, and I've only thought this recently as well, I think a personal assistant to you as a founder should probably be your first hire.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more.
Because as the owner of a business, particularly in the early stages, in the startup stages, you're a one-man band. You're a jack of all trades. You're doing product development, juggling the cash flow.
Sales.
You're doing the sales. You're doing the marketing, etc. And I think what you need to do is stretch yourself to the absolute limit till you really can't cope anymore. And then you probably can't hire a full-time salesperson, or you probably can't afford to hire an accountant yet. But if you could take an assistant on that could take away the periphery stuff that you've been gathering, and again I think from a personal perspective as well, one of the things that I always found hard to get with an assistant was someone who was competent enough to do the, let's say, the more high caliber tasks, yet without an ego to be able to do the more menial tasks, for want of a better word. Like
I bought you some socks today.
Georgie bought me socks today, right? But joking aside, buying socks sometimes is as important as doing a high level presentation for an investor.
You can't walk around sockless, can you?
And yes, I mean that was a big thing for me. But but I know I repeat myself, but it is for me probably. And I never thought of this initially. I'd always historically look at an assistant as, once the business is grown and you're making extra profit and you've got some fat on your back.
Yeah.
It's you can afford that luxury. Almost like in the same way you think, oh well, now I'm making some money, I can afford a cleaner. Mm. Whereas now having experienced it and actually having, I guess, more insight into these situations myself, it should be something taken on much earlier in the game to allow you to then kind of keep bulging, if you like, and you as the founder can carry on with the sales, the marketing, the finance, until you've then got to a level when you can probably start to employ some individual people in those individual pegs.
Yeah, I mean, I would say that there's probably 2 takeaways from what you just said, and the first is, people often take that time when you're actually thinking, oh God, I really need some help. Like, take some time and think, okay, what is the scope of all the stuff that I actually need the help with? Because I've seen, friends of mine, I've been in businesses where it's like, oh, we need some help in this department. Let's just get in a junior PA and we'll just throw all the shit at them. And it doesn't work, because actually what they need is help with, project managing something, or they need somebody that can communicate with a lawyer and explain that they need a new agreement for something, something that is a bit more higher level. And what they do is they recruit too junior, it never works, they try to skimp on the money, and what they actually need to do is take that time to figure out what it is that they need and then pay for quality, because it pays off in time, which is actually our most valuable commodity in every way.
And what Georgie's there saying as well about not taking someone too junior and paying for quality and I guess taking on a higher caliber member of staff as an assistant, I think is a crucial recruitment tactic in general. I think if you are ever going to employ anyone in any role, whether it's sales, marketing, etc., you need to recruit from the top down. And again, this is something I was completely guilty of myself. When you want to build a sales team, I used to look back and I'd start hiring junior salespeople because I'd think I couldn't afford any more senior ones, and I certainly couldn't afford a manager for the team. But all I then end up being is becoming a sales manager or becoming a marketing manager, or I mistakenly take on a junior bookkeeper for the accounts, and then I end up managing them. And as a business owner, as the entrepreneur, you need to be growing your business, and the only way you can grow your business is to delegate away all possible problems. So you really need to recruit from the top down, and obviously this applies with the assistant scenario in terms of getting someone who can handle all the tasks, not someone junior who's going to sink under it all. But,
it's great to bring junior PAs into larger organisations to teach them, to train them, is a fantastic way to grow. It's how I grew, going into an FS.
Well, it's almost the PA's PA.
It wouldn't work like this. Like working one-on-one for somebody as a very inexperienced person, like I wouldn't have been able to deal with the stuff that Matt throws at me. Like the socks is one thing.
You get the socks. I don't think you'd be able to
okay, I would have been able to handle the socks. But
I trained a black Marks and Spencer's size 10.
Yeah, and then I had a moment of 9 to 12. Yeah, that's fine. But yeah, I would say that's probably the next thing to think about as well, is just to make sure that you keep that ongoing communication. Matt's so good at taking the time just to explain something and using 20 or 100 words instead of 5, which makes a huge difference in allowing me to understand faster and faster what it is that he's trying to achieve. And for me, that would be the greatest thing that you can do as somebody that has an assistant, is to get them integrated into your business, get them to understand what it is that you're trying to achieve, how you want to come across to people, communicate with them on an ongoing, constant basis, and it just builds a really strong relationship between the two of you. But it also allows them to grow an understanding that means that they're going to stop having to come to you to make decisions, because they're going to be able to know what to do. And that, again, then saves you time. And
I think ultimately you have to start this journey with the view that you're going to get to a level of trust where you are happy to delegate as much as you possibly can delegate, and whether that's making decisions in the business, whether that's having the ability to spend some of your personal money. So for example, if we're booking hotel rooms, I don't want to be bothered within reason, whether it's £100 a night or £120 a night. Well, obviously if it's £1,000 a night, then I would expect that you're going to check in with me, but then in the same breath I would also expect that I'm going to say no, so it's a non-starter. But I guess there's no point putting that effort into training someone if you're then not going to give them enough trust to be able to go out there and ultimately make your life easier.
And trust is probably the most important thing. And I would say, if you feel like you're in a position where you don't trust your assistant, or you feel like you can give them certain stuff to do but not other things, then that's a dynamic that's not working. And trust is absolutely the most important thing. You've got to know that anything you throw at them, they will handle, and if they can't handle it, they will tell you, which again just kind of circles back to being able to communicate with each other and make sure as well. So I've seen this happen a lot, and this happens across all businesses. It's not just this, the assistant and employer dynamic. Is if people feel like they can actually say and put their hand up and say, what, I really don't know how to do this, can you help me? Then that's also the other thing, is just create an environment where they feel safe enough to come to you and say, this is actually a bit out of my depth. That's probably the other thing.
So and obviously at the beginning of this we spoke about geography and how I felt, that I needed someone who would be kind of with me all the time. I think I'm going to go to London, I'll be travelling from London, Leeds, Spain, wherever I'm going, and I felt that I wouldn't get proper use out of that assistant unless they were with me at all times. Now I guess I've been proven to be completely wrong in this scenario, which I'm very glad of. But how important do you think geography geography can be. And I think the reason I think it's important as well is I'm sure a lot of people listening to this are thinking, well, it's all very well Matt saying this, because he can afford Georgie, or and again, we're in London, Georgie's London wages, but there's many options out there now for remote Filipino assistants, and almost like call centre in India type setups, which I've never personally used them, but I know more and more people using this kind of thing.
Yeah, people use the agency model now, and they get kind of passed around, but the account's sort of held centrally.
I've come across one recently. I've forgotten the name, otherwise I'd tell you, which is effectively a full-time dedicated member of outsourced staff, and they charge 30. And you're getting your own 40-hour a week.
I know who it is.
Dedicated PA.
We won't give them the airtime.
$1,300 a month.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
And that price has just gone up, and that's why I think this puts the whole concept so much more in reach of people than you would think, of initially thinking, well, a PA is a complete luxury. Well, no, actually, at $1,300 a month, if you can make that concept work, that's actually cheaper for you than hiring any other member of UK-based staff within the organisation, and frees up much more of your valuable time as the owner.
Yeah.
But it only works if the geography issue is solved.
I think people have still. And it definitely varies across industries. Financial services, for example, is one where they're very all about the employees being, in the office and making sure that they can actually visibly see them working. Although some organisations are changing that now, which is really good. But for me, geography again becomes about trust. So if you don't have to physically be with somebody anymore. Like, we have laptops, we have phones. It's easy enough to communicate, and funnily enough, the geography thing again sort of circles back to communication. So as long as you have an ongoing dialogue and you are able to get hold of each other when you need to get hold of each other, then that essentially becomes no different to being side by side in an office, So
when we say get hold of each other when you want to be able to get hold of each other, I think as well you need to find a method of communication that works for you.
Matt loves the voice note.
Absolutely love WhatsApp voice notes. Some people tell me that's because I just love the sound of my own voice. But
it's a nightmare for me because I can't search my WhatsApp conversations for things that we've talked about, so I have to star the voice notes and then listen to them again.
But Georgie's also started to move from text to voice notes herself. But whatever your method of communication is, whether it's text, talk, whether it's video, voice notes on Instagram, whatever it is, find something that works. Obviously, you've got to get the other party bought into the same method of communication. But again, I think for me that's been something that's completely got me over the geography issue, because I can just I can wander around and I'll leave a 5-second voice note, a 5-minute voice note, just mid conversation, and it's completely made the whole scenario and relationship work.
Yeah, it definitely helps, because it's like Matt has a thought bubble and then it's sort of like word vomit, which is perfect because that's exactly how it happens in an office, right? So if you're side by side, you have a thought and you look up, and I think that's exactly what people think that they still need, is that ability to just look up from what they're doing and go, oh, whilst I remember, by the way, can you do this? So, with the voice notes, that's exactly what Matt does. Like, he might be in the middle of a meeting and then he'll go, I'm so sorry, give me 1 second, and then he'll send me like a 10-second thing of, don't let me forget to ask me about this later, I've just remembered. And that's exactly it. So it's all about just make your equipment work for you, essentially, like figure out how to communicate. And then again, think about the role itself. For Matt, I just run his errands in London and then just give him stuff to take up on the train. Like and that works, if he's going back to Leeds. So just think more about what it is that you actually need versus what it is that you think that you are used to and therefore might want. And for us, I actually think that it makes, in a way, obviously Matt and I get on really well, but it's a good thing to have that sort of space to ourselves, I think, to be able to just prioritise how we want, work how we want. You know, I sit in my pyjamas for half the day sometimes, and it's great. And I know that Matt's running around town.
That's when she's in the office, by the way.
Yeah, I come to the office in my pyjamas. You know, and Matt's running around town and he's going to meetings, but I'm still readily available, like, no matter where I am. So yeah, that's kind of just figure out what works for the two of you, have a conversation about it, and make sure that, you know, you're both happy, and then just trial and error, I think, is the main thing.
Cool. Well, look, our celebrity guest, now a very late celebrity guest, is about to be here, so we'll wrap it up. But I hope you found that useful. And like I say, you know, taking on an assistant really should be your second hire, and you need to give it, please, you know, watch this video back and, you know, listen to my view as the entrepreneur, listen to Georgie's view as the suffering assistant, and hopefully you can get some more depth to it and understand it better. And like I say, I can't remember who the cheaper offshore PA units are, but if anyone's ever used someone, write in the comments below. If you've had a PA and you've had a relationship that's been really good or been really bad, again, you know, comment down below and tell us about some of your experiences. And if you want to know any more, then hit me up on the DM. And we'll look forward to giving you some more advice in another 6 or 8 weeks' time. Yeah. after Georgie and I have either substantially fallen out or cemented our relationship even further.